forensic science? Forensic science is basically the finding evidence in a crime scene used for court of law.
And then this is just a broader spectrum, or like going more in depth in what is forensic science. So forensic science is the application of a broad spectrum of sciences and technologies to investigate situations after occurrence and to establish what occurred based on collected evidence. Basically what Silda just said, but she just condensed it, saying that collecting evidence to figure out what happened.
So, okay, a little bit of background before we get into our experiment. Cesare Lombroso, he's an Italian criminologist, and he was one of the first people to discover the correlation between body functions and lying and how your body function changes when you lie. And then he kind of developed the principles behind polygraph testing.
So our experiment was to measure our participants when we asked them questions based on two significant factors. One, if they're lying, is there an increase in heartbeats, and then there's an increase in blood pressure. So our hypothesis was that if there is an increase in either regions, that they are lying.
Okay, I'm materialist. One is our participants, of course, and the second one I would like for at least one of you guys to say. Try to say it. I would like to raise hands.
If you say it right, we'll give you a Snickers bar.
Okay. Dora.
Okay.
Big thermometer meter.
Big mama.
Big thermometer.
Alright, this is how you say it. Big thermometer.
Oh, wait, repeat it one more time.
Big thermometer. Big thermometer. Mom, that's what everybody gets confused with, is the mom part in the middle for some reason.
We got confused. It took us a while.
It took us a while.
So the abbreviations on this big meter are SYS, and that's your systolic blood pressure, and that's the top number. And that's when your blood, like when your blood beats, like the pressure of the blood going through your veins when it beats. And then BIA, which is the diastolic blood pressure, and that's when your heart's like your heart, so it's like boom, boom. So like in between the booms, that's that pressure on your veins. And then the pulse is just your heartbeat.
Okay, we have 8 procedures. The first one is getting a secluded area, so nothing would interfere them or distract them. Second step is gathering the participants, and we would explain to them what the experiment is and ask them to sign a waiver because there's some personal questions in there. Before asking the individual questions, we put on the SPIG meter for short, so and as soon as we press the on button, we will ask some questions to them. And then we record the data from the SPIG meter, and the last step is we repeat step 5, and without no questions asked.
Okay.
So we can get the control over it.
So I'm going to be basically reenacting the scene of what we did when we did it. So we gave them the option of either on that they wanted to do, and I just put this onto their arm as comfortable as possible. And on the side right here, it has the heart, which means that when you turn it on, you're supposed to swing it to where your heart is and lay it there. And then as she does, like when I turn it on, she'll swing it to where her heart is. And then I will be, again, asking her questions when it starts, but if it's in the wrong position or it's not right, then it will beep and it will tell me that. And then we ask questions as soon as we put it on, and that's how it was conducted. So the questions that we asked. The questions that we asked were pretty basic. They were 10 simple questions like, what is your name? How old are you? Have you done anything illegal? Which is a touchy topic because we're all in high school and we don't have done anything illegal. Or was, have you cheated on anything in general? And I know you guys all have. 5, do you like your parents? 6, are you happy? And 7 was kind of like to get them untense, because if I came up to you and asked you a series of questions, pretty sure you guys would all be scared. It's have you lied on any of the previous questions? 8 was, do you like this program? 9 was, are you afraid of failure? And 10, do you believe you will graduate from college?
So the participants, we had 6 participants, 3 were boys and 3 were girls, and they ranged from about 15 to 17, and they ranged from Caucasian to Hispanic, and they were all volunteers. They all went, we had to sign up, and they all came in and were like, yeah, sure, we want to do this. It sounds like so much fun.
And when we were conducting the experiment, But then after we asked them questions, their SYS and the DIA were pretty consistent, but some really did increase. Their posts increased a lot, which means to me that they lied. And we had one participant that kind of skewed our whole data. That's participant number 5. She was at 104 before we even started the experiment, and that could be because she was really nervous. And we tried to make her sit still, but she was really fidgety. So when she moved, her muscle movement could have messed up the sensor on the thing. I don't know why she was so nervous. And then, as you can see, she went from 104 to 81, which she probably screwed up her data, but it's okay.
So your blood pressure should be about like less than 120 over 80 millimeters per mercury, and then your heart rate should be about 60 to 100 beats per minute. That being said, a well-conditioned athletes more normally between 40 to 60, simply because they are so healthy. You know, they're good. Like their body's healthy, they're healthier, their heart beats less.
So this is our chart. On the top is the resting blood pressure, and as you see, these are our 6 participants. The blue represents the SYS, the orange represents the DIA, and the gray represents the post. And then on the bottom is after we ask them all the questions, it's basically the same representation of the data I have collected. And as you can see, there is a significant increase between before we ask them questions and after. Everything has kind of doubled in variable and number range. But we kind of found the consistency in the SIS and the DIA, but the pulse was the main thing that has increased throughout the whole experiment.
So errors that could have happened. So on the instructions for this big meter, it did note that you weren't supposed to talk when you used it. That being said, we couldn't do our experiment unless the participants answered the question, so that could have been a factor. And then muscle movement, like back to participant 5, they fidgeted a lot, and that could have affected the sensor. Simply if they tapped their finger, the muscles in the hand would have messed with the meter, so that could have been a big problem. And then the testing environment itself, even though we were in a quiet room, that could have affected it, simply because it could have made them nervous.
In conclusion, our experiment and our hypothesis turned out to be right. When it increased, it basically lied. In conclusion, Cesar Lombroso was heading into the right direction for detecting lies, even though he didn't discover the polygraph he did, was heading in the right direction. And for this, it's one step to understand how to detect lies and discover new technologies.
And this is our thank you page to Ms. Morgan, Ms. Rogers, Ms. Santiago, Ms. Rosa Mentor, Mr. Liddell, and all of our participants.
So why did you pick those questions?
We actually took a lot of time in deciding what questions we wanted to ask, because yes or no questions are always the way to go, but yes or no questions are also really hard to define, like that goes personally in depth with you that you can actually rely on and arrange if you can learn on these or if you can't. So we just chose those questions basically because they're really in depth and more basic for us to get an understanding.
So, you guys determined that an increase in the measurements meant that someone was lying. Did you guys actually know if they were lying or not for sure?
I want to say that we can't really specify on if we know that they're lying just because of the given fact that we had asked a series of 10 questions during one session. So we know that they lied on one of them, but we can't specify on which one because we asked it all together.